Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining. This is the next installment in our series of videos. And this afternoon, I'm very excited to have Terri Earley with us. She's our Chief Financial Officer, so one of the set of hands at the helm of all things Bachmann. Do want to say that she's one of the smartest and most confident people I've ever had the privilege to work with, so I'm excited about interviewing today. Hey, Terri, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Brian.
Awesome. You look like you're at home. I'm at home too. It's a rainy day here in South Portland. I know what it's like up in Topsom.
Yeah, it isn't raining right now, but it looks like it might be starting to clear up. So I'm hoping for a better afternoon.
We've needed some wetness, so I'm
Yes.
not complaining. So just a little background. How long have you been with Bachmann?
I have been with Bachmann for since 2015.
Okay. And how did you come to the Bachmann family?
Well, I have a pretty diverse background, always in finance, but I started in in banking and in the legal field. And then I moved on to manufacturing for several years. And so, but always for small Maine companies and always fairly very local domestic presence. So I came to Bachmann at the time because they were part of Clyde Bergerman, and I was looking for an international, sort of like an international flavor to expand my horizon. So that's how I ended up there.
Uh-huh. So since 2015, share with me, I'm sure there's a million memories that you have in that short amount of time, but what would you say would be your fondest memory?
Well, I mean, I think always hearing the stories, of Lothar and the history has always been it makes you feel like you're part of like the whole Bachmann life and not just the past 3 years you've been there or so. So at every event we ever have, there's always stories of the old history and stuff. So it's something that I always makes me feel like really part of it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I, of course, never met Lothar before, but I feel
Yeah,
like
I
I
feel like
know
you
him.
know him though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So when you think about Bachmann, what are you most proud of? What really instills that sense of pride in you?
Well, I mean, I was, given that some thought, and I really, there's two things really, and one is that even though we throw around the word family, it's pretty cliche, it seems to be, but it's really like the camaraderie in the office it's really a very key thing. It's not always easy to find, and we really have it there. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is that Mike as a leader is, his passion and his drive to a goal is pretty it's pretty amazing, and he brings everybody aboard the bus with him. So between both of those things, it gives you something to feel a part of, and something to wake up to and look forward to each day.
I I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, there's just something about the feeling that we're involved in something that's bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So coming from a sales background, I know that there's a lot of anxiety among salespeople when it comes to not so much going after the order, but once we get the order, there's a little anxiety comes there. We just want the order placed and move on to the next target. So I know that we have never turned down an order because we haven't been able to come to terms. But I do get asked a fair amount, how flexible can we be with our terms?
Um, you know, I mean, it's sort of a slightly ambiguous kind of question because I mean, yeah, it's always a point of negotiation, but we're very flexible. We have the financial backing, and quite frankly, domestic customers tend to ask a little less of us than some of the international customers on those contracts. So the negotiation tends to be, I think, fairly easy. I mean, there's always a negotiation. It's a contract, and we want the best terms for us, and our customers want the best terms for them. But there's always common ground, always.
Mhm. what are some of the things that our representatives ought to be thinking about when trying to line commercial requirements with those of the customers? What are some of the things that ought to be at the forefront?
I think just making sure at the beginning that there's no over promising. I know that everyone's anxious to make the sale, and if everything's going through with price and they want our product and stuff, is just to assure the customer that it's just that it's just part of the process, and not kind of giving any indication that everything's accepted at face value. Even when we send contracts to our vendors with our standard terms and conditions, to ever get one back without a red line in it or some kind of, back and forth on negotiation is very, very so rare that just being upfront with the customer about it, that it's just sort of part of the process, and that we'll get through it, and that we're easy to work with, and shouldn't be a problem.
It's not like we don't want the order, right?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, there's usually, I find that generally speaking, domestically, the contracts are pretty, are pretty reasonable. There's very rare that we come up to a point where we really have to have conference calls and discussions on really hot topics. Usually it's just a few back and forths and it's all resolved. It's just, patience.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and this next question, I've decided it's going to be a standard question in all the upcoming interviews. We have a great group of representatives that really are looking out for our best interest, and I know that they want to be as helpful as possible. When you think about our representatives, can you think of one or two things that they could be doing that would just make your life easier?
That's an interesting question. And on the finance side, I'm generally looking at it in the reverse, how can we make their lives easier? Because, the communication on the paperwork and on the, our commitment to pay them timely and pay them when our customers pay us. One of the things that we're actually working on is, we send I think every one of our reps is paid via ACH, automatic deposit. And one of the complaints that I hear from our reps is that they don't know what the payment applies to. And that's been heard. And one of the things we're working on is some automatic method of emailing via some software, emailing a copy of a check stub so that they see what their payments are being applied to, which contracts are being applied to. So that's something I'm hoping in the next 4 to 5 weeks to have that launched, which should make our reps' lives easier. So that's where our focus is. So I kind of flipped the question on you, but
you did. Now I don't know what to say.
I know.
Hey, Terri, we're drawing to a close. Appreciate the time, and always a pleasure talking to you, and thanks for the time to do this.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, anytime.
All right, thanks.
All right, thank you, Brian. Yeah, bye.